everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Kurt Schmidt, your host, and I am so excited that you are joining me. We've got a lot to cover today. So I do talk a little fast. I go a little fast. If I go too fast, make sure you leave a comment, ask questions. I'm going to leave a little time at the end for questions, but I do want you to make sure that you are, getting out of this what you're looking for. So, it's Friday. I'm excited. I've got a big laundry weekend. Anybody else here got a big laundry weekend? I have got a huge laundry weekend. It's going to be amazing. Just real quick, we'll get started. We'll talk a little bit about what today's subject is. So this is a technique that I'm going to teach you today that worked really well for my company, my previous agency that I worked at and, well, owned. And it's something that I really believe can help people find those top tier clients, the clients, the clients with budgets. Let's just put it that way, right? Let's just put it that way. We want clients that actually have budgets, right? So let's jump in here a little bit. So again, thank you for joining. I'm Kurt, and I run and own Schmidt Consulting, which is helping agencies grow. That's what I do. And today's an example of a technique and a system that I come in and help agencies that are looking for growth, at least on the lead generation side. I also can help with a number of other techniques. So I've built a lot of agencies in my career. I've helped a lot of agencies grow. I've built my own agencies. And I'm here to help you. So let's get started. All right. So if you can, I'd love to hear why you're here. So if put a 1 in the comments if you're looking for advice on how to get your first high paying client. Put a 2 in if you've already got high paying clients, but you want more of them. And then put a 3 if you were just bored and you just wanted to see what you were doing, what I was up to. So go ahead and post those in the comments. It will help me steer our conversation a little bit more. So anything you can do there would be great. Okay. Because again, if you're looking for top tier clients, if you're looking for high paying clients, these are people that are, they're not just out showing up in your inbox anymore. It used to be like that 5-10 years ago. These types of things would just show up in your inbox and you'd be like, oh my gosh, where did this come from? Did you know who reached out to us today? It was blah, blah, blah. Doesn't happen anymore like that. Why is that? Well, I've got a lot of reasons why, and we're going to go through a bunch of those. So the problems is that people are running to are low leads and sales. That's obvious, right? There's the revenue peaks and valleys, right? Things are going up, things are going down. And then there's no ability to forecast sales. Okay. There's no ability to have an understanding of what's coming or when it's coming. And that's a big part of what's happening in the world today, is that what I'm seeing with a lot of agencies is the inability to forecast. So that means the inability to plan, and the inability to plan makes you less strategic. Okay. And so the less strategic you are, it's going to be harder and harder to keep growing your company. Okay, so the outdated tactics, the things that are not working, are the spamming decision makers. The emails and all those things. Now, I want to be clear. I am not dogging on email blasts or cold calling as part of this. Those things work, but here's the problem. Okay, the problem with cold email and cold calling is not that they don't work. They do work, but at the scale you have to do them at these days is incredible. It's tens of thousands of messages you need to be sending. Now, the more niche and smaller niche you are, the less emails and probably you'll have to be sending. But most agencies, they work with a broad variety of industries and agencies. So you're going to have to be sending out. The scale is just incredible that you've got to be going to gather those sorts of leads. So I'm sure you'll get things on LinkedIn that say, yes, we're looking for, how would you like 40 leads a week? And it's like, oh, that would be fantastic. But I guarantee you don't want any of those leads because they aren't people that you ought to work with. All right. And so the other challenges, and I hear this from a lot from agency owners, is the increased sales cycle. It's 3 times as long as it used to be. It used to be, we talk to the client, talk to them a few times, then a few months go by, and then we're signed and we're off to the races. Now, we're closing deals a year later, 2 years later. I remember just recently in my last agency, we had a deal that closed 3 years after we first started initially talking with them. That's just incredible. And it's really hard to run a business based on that. Okay. And the other problem is that there is people are expecting a high amount of trust, and there's a lot of skepticism just in general out there. Okay. There's just a lot of it. And a lot of that is due to the economy, of course, plays a part in it. I hear people talk about the economy all the time. But the one thing that I would also mention to you is just digital transformation sort of fatigue. And I don't mean in terms of getting better at digital. What companies are experiencing is a high level of SaaS. Okay. And I don't mean from a cultural standpoint, I mean from a technology standpoint. They're implementing these digital tools. There's so many new tools. There's new CMSs. There's new ERP systems. There's HubSpot. There's marketing systems. There's HR systems. There's checking in with these people systems. There's Teams. There's Slack. There is such a fatigue around digital in on its own, so that if you're going in and trying to promote and sell digital services, it's got to look like something that is going to be a huge game changer for them. Because right now they're looking at, do I hire outside to help people build me something internally, help me market things internally? Or do I need to just lean more into my tool set? Do I need to just hire more people to run the tools that I already have? These are questions that people are having. So SaaS has had a huge impact on where we're at with things. Okay. So let me go back to emails real quick. So this is like, these are actual like facts. Um, since 2014, the reply rate in emails has decreased by 10% year over year. Okay, the it's just going down, the reply rate. So that's why the scale of how many emails people need to be sending in order for cold emails to work is just increasing rapidly, and it's going to keep increasing. Okay. And Gardner has also said that most B2B decisions can have up to 10 people involved in them. Now, you might be thinking, "Oh, this is only for the Fortune 100." That's not at all the case. Our sweet spot in my previous agency was mid-size organizations, sub 1,000 employee companies, and there was at least a minimum of 3 to 5 decision makers involved in every sizable purchase, at least over $100,000 projects. Okay, so we're not talking about somebody picking up a $5,000 a month marketing retainer. I'm talking about $100,000, $200,000 billing in 1 year, if not more. And there wasn't just one person that makes that decision, whereas there used to be more of that. Okay, now what we need to do is be shifting our mindset. Now, I hear a lot of people talk about being partners with their clients, and I'm going to call BS on this right now, okay? Because I hate it when agencies talk about being partners with their clients. We want to be partners with our clients. But the problem is that most agencies wait for the client to determine when you're a partner. Okay? We want to be the ones determining when we are partners. Okay? We are the experts. We determine when we're partners. But too many agencies rely on the organization to determine when that partnership actually happens. So we need to position ourselves in that way. So how can we do that? Okay. Number one, overcoming skepticism. Okay. So you've got these one-sided partnerships. The clients are looking for genuine collaboration. The problem is that in a lot of cases, our account managers or salespeople are just hunting down the next deals. Okay. Or our teams are so focused on delivering on that solution that they've got tunnel vision in a good way, right? We want them to be focused. We want them to be working on the client solution. Okay. But we do need people keeping an eye out for what other opportunities are in there, not just from a billing standpoint, but from an actual genuine collaboration standpoint. And so just in upcoming webinar, I'm going to be talking about how to kind of expand with clients. So make sure you either subscribe or follow or do all those things to the LinkedIn, to the YouTube. But if you have current clients that you want to expand into, I'm going to be doing a webinar coming up soon that focuses deliberately on that. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Um, so a holistic approach. Okay. The strategy I'm going to go through um, it's a holistic approach. It's not just a one and done sort of tactic. Okay. The other thing is it's a really a no lose um, situation because more you understand your target market, the better you will be at selling, okay, to that target market, okay. And the other benefit is you're going to gain more knowledge from the people you're reaching out to, um, and then they will be able to learn from you as well. So the reason why I like this solution, I like this technique, is because it allows me to get um, in an expert position with my prospects, but then it also allows for me to learn from them to allow me to keep expanding what I'm doing further. Okay. So let's dive in. Okay. So hopefully you've got some ways to take notes. Otherwise, there will be a replay for this. Or if you want to go through this in depth, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk through it. Okay. Now, you might, before I want to preface this, you might look at this and say, well, this seems like a bunch of work, Kurt. Okay. Well, if you're watching this, you probably are looking for more clients. And why are you looking for more clients? Well, you might have some people on the bench. Okay. And if you've got people on the bench, you've always heard the term, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. Well, my philosophy is, well, if you've got no time to bill, you've got time to sell. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean you're in a sales position, but what you're doing is helping with the sales efforts. And people will say, but Kurt, if my team is on the bench, I want them to, learn more about their craft and get better at their craft. Sure. Okay, fine. Let them take some courses on Figma or different things, whatever you want to do. That's fine. The problem is that where these people will really benefit is learning more about how your business works. And there's no better way for an employee to understand how the business works than to be involved in the marketing through sales, through close process. I promise you, these are talented individuals. They want to understand how the business works. So giving them an opportunity to participate in those things is huge. Okay. So don't wait for them to ask because they were not going to ask. They don't feel like it's their lane. Give them the opportunity. And I promise you, you will see some aspects. And I don't mean they're actually talking to the client and selling. I mean, they're contributing. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is we need to identify our prospects. Okay. And the tool that I like to use is Apollo. It's apollo.io. And if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, this is also a great place to do it. I love Apollo because it allows me not only to get, sort of their LinkedIn, but I can get their email. Sometimes I can get a phone number. Sometimes I can get a number of different ways of contacting them. And the information versus what I've seen in Zoom Info and other places has been, very popular. So if you're a fan or if you've used Apollo, give me a 1 in the comment. If you haven't never even heard of Apollo, give me a 2. Okay. I'd love to get an understanding of how in-depth people here understand it. So we're using Apollo or LinkedIn to start our research. And what I like about using Apollo is that it allows me to really understand, where the client is at, how long they've been there. And a lot of times I'll take the data from Apollo and I'll bring it over to LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Okay. So I bring it over to Sales Navigator. And what Sales Navigator, I only use it for one specific thing. There's one filter that I love Sales Navigator for. And that is that it allows me to check a box or move a toggle that says, has this person posted in the last 30 days? That's really key. Okay. I want people who are active on LinkedIn as part of this process. Okay. And I'll get into why here in a second. Okay. So, all right. So let's jump back in. Sales Navigator, they've been active for the last 90 days. So I grab a list, and I've just done this recently because I'm out looking for agencies and agency owners that are interested in working with me. So I'll walk you through how I did it. Searching through agencies, I narrowed it down to the US. I narrowed it down to less than a certain amount of billing per year or a certain amount of revenue per year, a certain location, a certain amount of employees. And then I was able to take that list over to Sales Navigator, and then I was able to see which of these people are posting and commenting on LinkedIn. Okay. Now, the other thing you could use Apollo for is maybe if LinkedIn is not your target place, you could look at places like Twitter and other things too, because Apollo can give you a lot of that information as well. Okay. So we want to focus on people who are active, okay? And then we want to do a little bit of stalking of these folks, okay? We want to understand, are they posting? Are they blogging? Are they commenting? Are these people who are writing white papers for their businesses? Are they engaged in some sort of thought leadership for their organizations? Because these are the people that we want to reach out to above all else. Okay. Now you might be thinking, well, Kurt, what if that isn't the person who signs the checks? I don't care. Again, if we go back to what I said, there's a number of people in the buying decision process. Okay. And just getting the person who signs the checks is not necessarily going to be our client. Okay. Not at least in these mid-sized companies that I'm targeting. Now, this technique I'm talking to you about today, this has worked with multi-billion-dollar corporations. At my previous company, we worked with some of the Fortune 40. Okay, so and this technique allowed us to help get into those locations, into those companies. Okay, so these engaged prospects are more likely to respond positively to what we're going to be pitching them. Okay, because they are looking for avenues in order to flex their thought leadership. So we're going to provide them. Okay, because Gary Vee said a thing a long time ago that I still believe is totally true: is don't wait to get invited to the party, throw your own party. Okay, and that was the philosophy of marketing that we ran at Foundry, which grew us and allowed me to bring in $20 million over 5 years at Foundry. Was that we were going to be the party throwers. We're not going to be the party shower upper or shower uppers. I don't know. Okay. Well, we'll move on. Okay. So the thing that we have to do is first create our pillar content. We create one piece of pillar content. So depending on what your business makes most sense for you, for your business, that could be a number of different things. So one is a blog or a white paper, a podcast, an ebook. This thing can scale. Okay. So depending on where you're more comfortable, but we need to pick one of these pillar contents. And this is something we're going to stick with. Okay. This isn't something we're just doing for this campaign. Okay. I want you to remove the word campaign from your vocabulary because that's not what we're talking about here. This is a new way that we are doing part of our business. Okay. And so whatever it makes most sense for your type of business, right? So if you are doing a media focused agency, something like a podcast or ebook might be better. If you're doing more of an engineering focused company, something more like a white paper or blogs or things might be more applicable. And so we want to avoid generic topics as well. We want to focus on specific challenges and trends that are within those industries that align with your business. Okay. And then we need to also understand what their challenges are. And that's part of what we are trying to solve. So for example, you know, I'm at Foundry, we were trying to target manufacturing businesses. So we created a piece of pillar content that allowed us to go out and talk to these people specifically about how automation was affecting their work, not AI, okay, not machine learning. Because again, buzzwords can sometimes maybe get you in the door, but they won't keep the door open. Okay. So we want to make sure, again, we're very specific about what we're doing with our clients, but we need to avoid buzz terms because again, these are savvy buyers these days. They understand things. They're watching webinars on YouTube. Okay. They understand what's going on. So the more that we try to hit them up with buzzwords and things, the more scammy and spammy that stuff can sound. So I'll get into more examples here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to reach out to them. Okay. And so here's an example of an email I've used, hundreds of times, which is, hey, at my company, we are embarking on an exciting research project and seeking collaborators. Our focus is on producing, this podcast or whatever, and we greatly appreciate your insights through a brief virtual interview. If you can spare 15 minutes next week, let me know. If you're unable to participate, no worries at all. We deeply value the relationship and always explore learning opportunities. Now, let me be clear. The best way to kick this off is with current clients, getting current clients that you're working with as part of that, um, as part of the um, initial kickoff. So if you have zero clients, that's fine. You can still use this thing. But if you have current clients that are in the space, this is a great way to start by reaching out to these individuals. Because what you could also put in this email is, hey, we kicking off this research project. We just got done interviewing, people at Boston Scientific, and we are very interested in having other healthcare organizations input into this study that we're doing, this research project that we're doing, this podcast series about how automation is affecting blah, blah, blah. And we send this out. Okay. And then what we want to do is follow up with them at least, 2 or 3 times to make sure that they weren't just busy, because these are busy people, and see if they have interest, right? Now, the great thing here is that if they do respond and they do respond in the negative, that's okay. We move them off to the side, okay? Because these are the people we're going to end up sharing this with when we produce it and when we're done, okay? So next thing here is that we're going to, if you have zero clients, I want to be clear because I know some people here might be trying out just getting that new client connection in the first place. Okay, I'm going to give you this is my secret hack here. I know it doesn't look like much, but I'm telling you, this increased people accepting my connection requests by 10 times. Okay, and so what I do is say, hi, Grant. We don't know each other, but a relationship needs to start somewhere, right? I'd love to connect with you here and follow your work. And me, boom, done. I'm telling you, just copy and paste this. If you get nothing out of this webinar, I'm telling you this message, if you're reaching out to people cold and trying to just connect with them, this will work. Okay. This works way better than, hey, I see we're in the same industry, or, hey, I had a guy the other day message me and say, hey, I saw you liked a post. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Like, first of all, that just seems weird. Okay. Don't message people like, hey, I saw you liked a post. That's not, no. Just be very clear and direct. Hey, we don't know each other, but that's okay. Like, it's got to start somewhere, right? So let's connect. I'm telling you, this thing works really, really well. Okay. So follow-ups on this is going to be really important. Okay. So essential for building the long-term relationships. We want to comment and contribute regularly to their content. So if we are following and connecting with these thought leaders, we don't want to be just asking them to give us stuff. Okay. We don't want to be just asking them to join our webinar or join our, let me interview you for 15 minutes and they never hear from us again until we finish the thing. Try to make sure you collaborate with them because they are out there trying to gain engagement themselves. So help them. Okay. Go and like and comment and contribute to the things that they are pushing out there. If you're not already doing this for your current clients, you're messing up. You need to be in there for your current clients and helping promote the work that they are doing. Okay. And then we want to do the same for our prospects. Okay. And the more we show up in their feed, the more we increase our presence and credibility. And most importantly, the more we stay top of mind. Okay. So this is our first sort of invite. This is very similar to the other one. But this is just this is like maybe right after that first introductory one, which it says, I'm conducting a research project on how healthcare leaders are adapting to AI. And again, I like the term automation better than using AI, but you can use AI if you're an AI place. Okay. I am currently interviewing a dozen people in your industry, and your insights would be extremely valuable. We'd be willing to participate in a brief virtual interview. If you're no interested, no need to reply. Thank you for your considerations, your consideration. And the last thing there is really important. I always, anytime I'm asking for something in LinkedIn, I make sure that I post something that says, if you're not interested, there's no need to reply. Okay. Because I don't need them to reply. I don't need them to take the time to say no, or I just, if they're not interested, they're not interested. Don't waste their time. Don't waste your time. Just tell them it's okay. Just, you don't need to feel like you have to reply. Um, and I'm telling you, this works out really good because what it'll also do is help push things in the right direction. There's a term out there, if you want to Google it, it's called the magic email, which is kind of like the last email you send. It's, something I'll go over in a future thing, but this is in similar vein to the magic email. Okay, so you tag contributors by sharing this pillar content on your social media channels, right? So we do those 15-minute interviews. We ask them about how automation is happening, and you're probably thinking right now, wait a second, I'm doing all this stuff. How am I selling them stuff? Well, here's the great thing. You're not, because what's going to happen is that the idea is that what they're doing is, once you start talking with people, they're going to be like, okay, what does your place do again? They're going to ask you to pitch them. You don't have to pitch. This is the fun thing about doing this work, is that you don't have to pitch. They're going to ask you to pitch them, and you can be like, well, no, that's great. Yeah, well, what we do is we help organizations that do in your sector that do this and this. Oh, really? That's really cool. Yeah, yeah. Once we're done with this, if you feel like having a capabilities meeting in the future, we could certainly set that up. Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, yeah, I could do that. I think I'd want to bring, Sarah and Beth along with, for something like that. Oh, great. Sarah and Beth, and you're taking notes on the other decision makers. Okay, let's get back to what we're focused on, which is this interview. So we want to make sure that we are focused on helping them. Remember, we're the hosts. We're throwing the party. Okay, we are not the party. Okay, so then we're going to follow up with that capabilities meeting. Okay, so once we get this content pillar out, we launch the podcast, we launch the ebook, whatever it is. We're tagging these people in it, in our social media, in our posts that we're sharing it out with people. And then with our prospects that said no, or they wouldn't want to be a part of it, we're sending it to them and saying, oh, by the way, here's some information. I remember you said no to this. If you'd have interest in the future for joining us for our end of year predictions for 2020, marketing in 2025, what's our white paper on predictions for what to be focused on in 2025. Well, here's stuff from General Mills and Land O'Lakes and people that we interviewed as part of this. I thought you'd find this valuable. If you'd like to join us, we'd love your opinion and get your things. So I think it's really good. Um, and so we're using this to not only bring in them, but we're also bringing in people around them. Okay. Um, I want to bring in, I want to bring in a comment here. Mike said, oh shoot, I've lost it. Sorry, let me do it again. I like you talk about, but something similar does work very well. Thanks for engaging with my post. If you like that, you might also appreciate this. I love that, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. That 100% that. I think it's great. Okay, so next thing here is I'm going to open it up for question and answers. Okay, I know I talked really fast. I go through this stuff quickly. But the key here is that what we are doing is we are trying to create something where people are trying to engage with us, because of the partners and the experts that we are. We're not trying to pitch them on anything. And the great thing about using this technique is that we're also going to be learning a lot. We're going to be bringing in a lot more information about what are they actually looking for. Okay. One of the best questions I was ever taught by a salesperson back at an agency, very large agency I used to work at, fantastic company. And I was taught to ask this one question, which is, why is today the day to do this? Why is now the time to do this? And whatever the client or prospect said right after that was basically everything you need for information in order to sell them on signing up with you today. Like, why is today the day to rebuild your website? Well, because our SEO is hurting, because this, because that, our old person left. So then right there in your proposal, the first thing you're writing in there is like, we heard that the SEO is bad, that the people didn't do a good job the last time, and all these things, and this is why you want to pick us, because we already have that already solved and figured out. So, but the thing I like about this pillar content is that you can have your staff help participate in building this, right? So if you got somebody on the bench, okay, let's say it's an engineer or it's a designer, and you're doing these interviews, you can have them help with pulling out quotes from transcripts. You can have them help create some of the um, the work that's going to help automate it and send it out. Maybe if you've got a designer on the bench, they can help design the initial white paper or ebook or cover art to your podcast, whatever you're going to be doing. Now, again, the bigger the agent, the bigger the company you want, the larger the content pillar is going to need to be. Okay. It can't be just a blog. If you're going after a Fortune 50 company and you ask them just to participate in an interview for a Medium, a blog that you have on Substack or Medium, I'm sorry, it's just not fancy enough. It's got to be fancy. Okay. It needs to be something like a webinar, a speaking event, different things like that. Again, I think events are great. I'm doing another webinar on how to do events for business development in the future. If that's of interest, make sure you reach out and let me know. I'll make sure you're on the list for that. Okay, so if people have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'm going to go through a couple other quick things while this is going. Also, if you have other messages, just like Mike shared, that work for you or techniques that have worked for you, please go ahead and share them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Okay. All right. So again, I do want to clear up one thing here is that the follow-up is key. This is where most people fall down, is the follow-up. Okay. Is that if somebody says no, if somebody says, I don't like it, that just means today they're not interested. It doesn't mean they're forever not interested. I mean, of course, unless they message you and say, I'm forever not interested, never talk to me again. Okay. Um, but if they do just reply and say, not, no thanks, I'm not interested, just put them off to the side into the not interested bucket. These are people we're still going to share that white paper with later, and we're going to mention that, hey, you kind of missed out on being a part of this, and I thought that you'd like to see this next thing you're doing. Because what ends up happening, again, and this might not be the newest concept to all of you out there, okay, is the idea of creating this content and then inviting people to do it. But here is where the rubber meets the road. You invite these people and they say, no, thanks, or I'm not interested, or I don't think I'd be a good fit, or I'm not good with that. And then you never follow up with them again. Man, it's the worst move you could ever make. There has been so many times where, and I can give you an actual story about how we won one of the top 10 banks in the United States as one of our clients. And we were billing $75,000 a month in billings to this company. And here's how it happened. Okay. Very similar sort of thing. We invited them to participate in a pillar piece of content. They said no. Okay. We went ahead and published that content. We sent it back to them and said, hey, we'd love for you to take a look at this. We'd love for you to reconsider when, you're ready, because we're going to do this again at next quarter or next year or something. And when I reached out to them the next time, guess what? They were, boom, they were right there. They were right there and they were like, yep, I'm ready to go. I'm really sorry. I had this thing, we were selling our house, we were moving, a million different things were going on, and they just didn't have the mental bandwidth to pull in something like what I was talking about. Even though, again, you and we understand, like, this is just a 15-minute chat that I'm pitching these people. But to these people, it sounds like it could be a ton of work and a big commitment that they're participating in. You've got to really understand that people are telling themselves these larger stories around when you are coming in with these things. So we want to make it as simple and easy as possible. That's why we try to always do virtual, because it makes it easier for people. But again, if you're very niche and they're very close and local, just suggesting meeting at a coffee place or inviting them to lunch or whatever the case may be. I've even seen this work where you create a luncheon and invite a bunch of people around as a round table, to saying, hey, we're building this round table and we're pulling out some ideas for how healthcare is doing some of this stuff. The problem is that people will do these events and then they never create anything, any artifacts from them, and then use those as ways to reshare out to the wider prospects or to re-engage those current prospects to continue to participate as valuable resources, not just for your business, but for the entire industry. Okay. Because that's what you want to be. You want to be a valuable resource to the entire industry, right? That's how we want to be viewed. Because again, if we go back to why are we experiencing this? Because trust and credibility are at an all-time low. They just are. And the problem with most agencies is that we've been taught from a young from a young young age, I don't know, young company, is that we need to look bigger and better than what we actually are. We need to look big and important. Okay. People don't trust big and important anymore inherently, right? If you look at some of the biggest advertising agencies in the world, a lot of them have really pulled back and starting to use transparency more, because what people trust is transparency. So the more that we can be providing and building off services and outreach in a way that provides transparency into our organization, warts and all. Okay. I know people say warts and all, but it's not just warts. Like there's other pretty things that are going on in the company. And the more transparency we're providing, the more trust we're building. Before, we would create a very, prim and proper sort of brand and image that was like, we're very fancy and very expensive. So stay back there. You can still look very fancy and expensive, but you've got to be transparent. Okay. And so the more that you're reaching out to people and asking them to help you create your own marketing, it's fantastic. It works great. I can tell you over and over again, it's helped me bring in tons and tons of work. Okay. So, as I mentioned, the follow capabilities meeting is really important. Okay. So if there's not going to be any questions, I do want to mention that in the links below, I do have a digital agency maturity scorecard that I just launched. I'd love for people to participate if you're interested. And I've had a few guinea pigs go through this and they really liked it. It's about 20 questions. It'll give you sort of an idea of what your maturity level is as a business. And if that's a value, I'd love to hear back from whether you think it's valuable or if it's full of crap. But I guarantee you, like the people that reached out to me thought it was, and have taken it, have thought it was really, really interesting. So again, the link's going to be down there below. I also have a book, an ebook. There's a link in the description again that will you can take. It's a free book. It's about 20 pages long, and it's all about kind of how to build and land and expand with your current set of clients. And I'll be doing this ebook kind of as a webinar in the future. So if you don't got time to read, that's fine. Just follow along, and you can listen to me. I'm not going to read it to you, but like, you know what I mean. Okay. Okay. With that, I do want to thank everybody for taking the time today. I understand what I just pitched to you is not an easy solution. Okay. This is not a one and done solution. But if you're looking for top tier clients, you can't win them through cheap ways. You can't win them and you can't land those 6-figure, 7-figure deals by sending out 7 email chains. Okay. Excuse me. So we've got to invest. We've got to spend some time doing it. And this way works out. So again, I do want to mention that if this is something of interest to you, I hope you found some value in it. Make sure you give a like and share and do all the things that people do with the buttons and the things and stuff. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today. I really hope it was valuable. And if you want to talk more, I'm more than happy just to have a casual conversation about your efforts and the things that you're interested in doing in the future. So make sure you reach out to me. You can find me, Kurt Schmidt, on LinkedIn. Probably is the best way to find me. Otherwise, again, just keep following along and checking out the stuff that we're doing. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your Friday. Thanks so much. This is my first solo webinar. I was kind of nervous to do it. I hope you found some value in it. I know that I'm finding a lot of value in exploring these topics for folks like you out there. So thanks for taking the time to join me. I appreciate you being here. We'll see you the next time. Thanks.